Hello everybody, welcome to Bugbears and Brews. My name is Brian and today we're going to do a session recap. This is encounter number 3 of our Storm King Thunders campaign. We have a lot to cover, so I'm just going to go ahead and hit the ground running. So it picked up with you guys being in Lord Nander's. Once again, I'll refer to him as Lord N throughout, Lord N's tomb. And you guys actually were able to talk with his ghost. In talking with his ghost, you asked him a few questions. First, what's his ties with Elleny, and from there poured into a whole series of questions. But Elleny, the whole spin with that was that Elleny was actually the pursuer of the relationship and showing interest in Lord Nander. And Lord Nander, being an older guy, thought it was pretty swell to have this cute elf chick hitting on him. And so they started dating and going through that. And over time, Lord Nander became sick of it. But Elleny turned into kind of a poison ivy situation where she was far more into him than he was into her. Sadly, shortly into the relationship, Elleny became knocked up. And so Lord N said, you know what? I'm going to take care of you and the baby. I'm going to send you off to Tribor. Go ahead and live there in peace. Leave me be. However, didn't quite work out that way, because Elleny was obsessed with the Nightstone for some reason. We still don't understand the reasons behind that, but we know that she was obsessed. She did bring the baby to Lord Nander after the baby was born. So we know the baby's a boy and that the baby has Lord Nander's eyes, but we don't know the baby's name. And we also know the baby at this point is probably about 4 years old or so. So Lord Nander died a few years after the baby was born. I think it was like a year after the baby was born, but he still only saw the baby once. And post-death, Elleny came in every few months to Lord Nander's tomb and would taunt Lord Nander about how she's using the child for all sorts of magical experiments, trying to infuse pieces of the Nightstone into the baby. And then she was also taking pieces of Lord Nander, mainly his knuckles. So we don't know quite what's going on with all that, but we know that there's now this kind of sick elf chick that is doing weird magical experiments on a baby, and so we didn't really like that. And so we said, you know what? We're going to go ahead and try to save this baby. But there's an issue of who's going to get this child, because Lord N said, you know what? The wife isn't going to want anything to do with it. She knew that she had the mistress, or that he had the mistress, and was tolerating sending them up to up to Tribor, but wouldn't tolerate them in town. You didn't let Lord N know that his wife is now dead, crushed underneath a boulder. And then there was also the thought of, what about Belray? However, Belray is an elf purist, supremacist, whatever you want to call it. And you got a pretty good feeling that it wouldn't be safe to turn the child over to Belray. So after some discussion with the group there, you decided, you know what? The scribe just lost her child as well as her husband. Let's go ahead and see if the scribe wants to raise the child. You didn't actually talk to the scribe about that plan. I think you're just planning on springing the child on the scribe and seeing what happens, if you even get the child, let's be honest here. And then from there, since you guys did agree to help out with the child, that, Lord Nander, even though he doesn't know this child, still feels a bit of, parental responsibility. So he did give you a goodie, which is a magical dagger. It is just, for the moment, a plain +1 dagger. However, it does have inside its hilt a piece of the Nightstone on the pommel there. And then there's also some other abilities going on with the dagger, but you haven't been able to figure them out yet. From there, you guys went around and took care of a couple other responsibilities in Nightstone. One was you made sure that Commander Westbrook knew he was in charge, and you also knew that he was in charge temporarily, that you guys would be sending somebody, once you got back to Waterdeep, you'd be sending somebody from Waterdeep down to take over management leadership of the town until you guys got back. You also gave them a fund that they could use for repairs, and you were going to be sending people towards Nightstone on your way back from Nightstone, or on your way back to Waterdeep from Nightstone, and what you guys did. So you know, as you passed local farmhouses, you said, "Hey, you guys have anybody who's looking for work? Nightstone needs some rebuilding. They're paying well. Get over there. We're new management. Nice to meet you." That kind of stuff. Getting into Waterdeep proper, you guys set up shop at Leo Voral's place. He has a pretty nice manor, not as nice as Lord Vander, but Lord Vander wasn't around for this session. Don was unable to make it, so Lord Vander was off doing noble things. Who knows what those are? And then you guys all kind of went about your own ways to kind of set on tasks that you wanted to complete before heading out. So Leo Voral took the dagger to his guy, because he's got a guy, right? Everybody's got the guy. And his guy's name is Remy Three Toes. Remy Three Toes lives on the shady side of town, and on the walk over to the shady side of town, Leo Voral witnessed 3 drunkards picking on a Dragonborn. The Dragonborn wasn't exactly fond of that idea, stood up for himself, and 2 of the drunkards ran away when the Dragonborn kind of flared up his breath weapon there. But then the main one that was absolutely sloshed still wanted a piece of the Dragonborn. But between the Dragonborn and Leo Voral jumping in, the drunkard got thumped. So the drunkard got thumped hard enough, though, that he actually died. You guys did a kind thing, though, and you put his body in a barrel with his shoes sticking out. That way, when his buddies came back to look for him, they could easily find him by looking for the shoes sticking out of the barrel. From there, Tundra, sorry, not Tundra, Tundran went and joined Leo Voral, because Leo Voral was like, "Hey, you know what? I like the cut of your rug, and you know how to swing a weapon, and you play a pretty bad beat on that drum. Why don't you come along with me?" So Tundran is now the group's White Dragonborn Bard. There we go. And they set off to Remy Three Toes. Meeting with Remy, they handed Remy the dagger and said, "Hey, check this out. What can you tell us about it?" Remy confirmed that it's magical, and it has some other latent property besides the +1, but he's unable to figure out what that is. And then also confirmed that the item in the hilt, the gem in the hilt, is part of the Nightstone. He showed you some kind of faint runes that you can see with the Nightstone, but you looking at the runes, you can't see exactly what they are. You can just tell that there's little somethings there. And he couldn't quite pinpoint whether or not the Nightstone's draconic or giant in nature. There seems to be conflicting stories between those two, which one it is. A lot of people think it's draconic in nature because they think it's obsidian. He brought out some obsidian. He was like, "Hey, look, here's why it's not obsidian." You guys couldn't tell the difference, but he swears there's a difference, so you guys trusted him. He himself thinks it's more giant in nature, though. Leaving that story aside, we then went to Pavik. Pavik went to the Temple of Torm and was like, "You know what, guys? I need to kind of be okay with myself because I now have these new, stronger powers that I'm afraid to use, and I don't want to hurt people by using them." And the priest did not like that and said, "You know what? You're a priest of Torm, a cleric of Torm. You're not supposed to be doubting yourself. So as your penance, you have to go through your travels to Tribor, and you have to gain 1 follower per town that you pass through." Pavik was okay with that, and he bought some effigies to hand out to these travelers that he'll be gaining, hopefully, throughout his travels there, and set off. Well, set back to Leo Voral's joint. Thessalon went to the library to do some investigation on the Nightstone, both the town and the obelisk. The town was settled around the obelisk. The obelisk was there to begin with, but nobody knew what the obelisk is actually made of. More information about the runes, but once again, no drawings of the runes, no solid information about the runes. And then took a look at some of the information about the battles in the surrounding area to confirm if there's ever been issues with the elves and the humans before. And there really hasn't. There's actually been a lot of joint work together, so we don't have to worry about a long-standing blood feud is really what he was looking at. From there, we talked a bit about what Grimach was doing. And Grimach was hanging out on top of Leovoral's place, enjoying the wind and practicing some new moves, and talked to a birdie or two. Meeting back at Leovoral's place, there was a bit of a scuffle because, unbeknownst to us, Pavik has an issue with Dragonborn. So seeing Tundrin hanging out with Leovoral caused a conflict, and Pavik slammed Tundrin into the wall. There was a bit of story exposition there as Pavik went into his backstory, and essentially it came boil down to Pavik's not exactly going to trust Tundrin. However, he is being paid by the same guy that Tundrin's being paid by, so he'll at least accept him from now. But if he even slips up just the slightest, he's going to find Pavik's mace in the back of, or warhammer in the back of his head, to put it nicely. From there, you took rest, and the next morning you met with Fast Hands Eddie, who is going to be your foreman. It's another one of I know a guy type deal that Leovoral had going on there. And Fast Hand Eddie, the reason you guys chose him is because he listens to management, and he's an absolute pushover for management, which is you guys, but he keeps the lower guys in line. So you're not worried about him taking over the town. He might not be the best worker bee, but he will definitely get the job done. It might not be the quickest, the smoothest, the most desirable outcome, but eventually he'll get there, and he won't have any issues, or you won't have any issues getting the town back post, returning. And also, I don't know if we talked about this outside of meta knowledge. So Tim, I don't recall one way or another what we decided, but Thessalon was having some dreams about the dagger hilt and seeing the runes, and also picturing the Nightstone in his head and seeing the runes, but not enough to get a clear picture of what the runes are, just bits and pieces of each rune. And each night he sees different pieces of different runes there. When he wakes up, he doesn't remember the runes, so he can't draw them or anything like that, but he clearly remembers seeing the runes in his sleep. From there, you guys hit the road. You made it to the first town without any issue. I forget the name of the first town. However, my book is in the car, and I don't feel like going out in the cold, so it's going to stay there as Nameless Town. It's like Restolon or something like that. I don't remember the exacts. No issues going there, though, because it's only about 25 miles away from Waterdeep and in a pretty well-patrolled area. You were able to gather provisions there, mountain gear. Pavik supply, or not Pavik, Leovoral supplied mountain gear for anybody that wanted it. And then Pavik met a traveler on the road and actually got his first convert to Torm. Yay him. And there was also a bit of additional budding feud between Pavik and Tundrin, as Pavik was preaching to the crowd. Tundrin was playing a beat and trying to throw him off of his preaching cadence there, but Pavik was able to overcome. Heading into the mountain pass between the town that you're in now and Amphithil, I believe is the town you're heading to next. Not a lot of issues navigating the path as a whole. Britches the mule, or donkey, I'm sorry. Britches the donkey was able to navigate the path without issue. Keep your car on hand. He did get startled, though, when a group of elk headed across the path. He's not used to seeing elk, and so he kind of freaked out a little bit, but Pavik was able to calm down Britches. And as he's calming down Britches, though, a small hunting party, I say small, but it's like 15 or so Utgard barbarians, came and were like, hey, you guys screwed up our hunt by being in the way, so we're going to go ahead and make you guys pay back the hunt, the food we're going to get from the hunt. You guys are going to pay it back. So they demanded all of your food. Initially, the party thought they meant all the food in the wagon, and they were okay with that. So they agreed. And so they started taking the food, and then when it came down to frisking and looking through backpacks through food, that's when we had an issue, and it almost came to blows a couple different times. But in the end, Pavik said, you know what? I'm going to challenge your best fighter. If you guys beat us, you go ahead and take the food, all of it, including what's in our packs. If we win, you guys just get the food that is in the wagon. The fight itself was pretty quick, a couple back and forths there. A lucky crit on my side had Havoc on the ropes, but thanks to a heal and then no more good damage coming out, Havoc was able to be triumphant, and the Ukar Barbarians held to their end of the bargain. They took what was in the wagon, but they did leave you guys be. From there, you guys did take a midday rest, or later on in the day rest, because that was probably about midday there. And you saw a cloud giant castle floating way off in the distance. You're not quite sure how far it was, but it was to the northeast of where you were, and it was continuing to the northeast. You're not sure if you're going to encounter anything there, but just pointing out that, hey, you saw another cloud giant castle, and it was cloud giants that initially took the Nightstone. Then, sorry, we wrapped up with you guys taking a long rest and being about a 4-hour march or so to the next town, Amphiphil. And so that's where we're going to pick up. No housekeeping to talk about. So just be ready to roll next week at the start of the new year, or into the new year. As far as the campaign, I really like that we are doing this kind of additional side or main story along with the Giants thing. I think they're going to tie nicely together, and it brings us away from the books enough that we're going to have a pretty different playthrough if you want to do it with anything else, I think. So if you ever want to rerun it again, I think we're going to have a pretty different playthrough there. So thanks, guys. Look forward to playing next week. Bye.